Why can't we make undisputed for two guys at a catch weight where maybe 137 and a half or 138?
For what?
For both.
You can't do for both, schmuck. You have to be 135 to fight for the lightweight
But they did that for the.
No, I don't know.
They did that for Leo Santa Cruz and Gervonta Davis.
You can't.
They did a 130 with a 135, so it's not a schmuck. It's not a schmuck.
No,
it's just really in reality.
Schmuck. Where's Mauricio? Get Mauricio.
We even got. Wait, hold on. I even said it. No, don't call the ref. Don't call the ref.
135 is the limit. So if you don't do 135, technically, it's not.
So why did the WBA allow Leo Santa Cruz and Gervonta Davis to be 30 and 35? But if we have all the belts, it does count in reality because you guys are still stating that these guys are world champions. If it does count,
that was a 130-pound limit, though.
Yeah. It was a 130-pound limit, right? But they fought for the 35 as well.
Right.
Yeah. So Taylor would need to go to 135.
They need to be 135.
Taylor makes 35.
Yeah, you can fight for both titles.
Then how about if I go to 140? I would go to 140 and can I defend my 35?
You can't fight for the lightweight title more than 130.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on Teofimo wanting to fight Josh Taylor at a catchweight?
He didn't know what he's talking about because he thought if you fight Josh Taylor at 138 pounds, you could fight for both titles, the lightweight title and the super lightweight title. And so luckily Mauricio Suleiman was there, so I called him over and he said what obviously anybody in boxing really knows, you can't fight for the lightweight title unless you make 135. So you can do a catchweight, but he wanted to do a catchweight because he wanted, which would be great, two fighters fighting a unification fight, and the only way you could do it is if you made Taylor come in at 135, and Taylor can't make 135.
Thank you, guys.
As you see Triller forfeit the fight to DAZN and lose a lot of money?
No, again, we offered and bid what we could afford. I mean, you know, money isn't finite. You have to have budgets and you have to evaluate fights and determine how much you could spend on a fight. We did that, and Triller won the bid, and I think Matchroom was second. So, you know, we bid what we thought the fight was worth and what we could afford. But there is no animosity between us and the Lopez people. After we lost that bid, we sat down with the Lopez people and worked out a new contract with them going forward after the Camboza fight, and I think everybody is pleased with the new contract. I mean, when he knew how much we were willing to spend on the fight, and he didn't feel that it was adequate for him, his people went out and looked for companies that would put a higher bid in and get the fight. What the problem was in having Triller come with this really tremendous bid, the guy says, wow, I'm going to get $4 million for the fight because they bid $6 million or a little over $6 million. But they had no experience doing a big fight. They didn't know what they were doing. That's not a knock on them. And what we're going to try to do is to get these organizations to pass a rule to say that the only companies that can bid on a purse bid are those registered with the organization who have promoted at least one championship fight for the organization. You can't have somebody come in, well-meaning or not, I'm assuming well-meaning, and plunk down a few dollars and say, well, I'm a promoter and therefore I can bid, with no experience of having done a world title fight or any fight. I mean, that was, everybody looks from the outside and thinks how easy it is. They don't know what has to go into it, the preparation, how much research you have to do before you pick a date, before you pick a site. They don't know that. That comes with experience. Now that they have forfeited Triller, they're out of the picture, and now the fight goes to Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, and Eddie Hearn's a real promoter. So people say, what do you think about Eddie Hearn getting and doing the fight? I say that's great, because there'll be a bona fide, real promotion from Eddie, and we'll finally get that fight on, and then I can go and do what I have to do in the future with Teofimo.
Bob, if Teofimo were to lose and Kambosos were to win that fight, does that change his deal with you guys going forward?
No, because the deal contemplates a possibility of losing. But he has as much chance to lose to Kambosos as I do to knock out Tyson Fury.
Now, Bob, I want to ask you this. Teofimo told me last night that Devin Haney and his dad had a meeting with you and they never showed.
That is correct.
What happened there?
Devin Haney's father talked to Derek, who works for the company, Derek Harmon.
He's right behind you, Derek.
Yeah, and they arranged to come in to see me, and he never did. And
that was for a fight with Teofimo, I would assume, or
well, a big fight, whatever it was. Obviously, it wasn't necessarily only a fight with Teofimo, because Teofimo had an obligation to fight Kambosos. But we have a lot of, great talent in those divisions.